أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد آتينا لقمان الحكمة أن اشكر لله ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه ومن كفر فإن الله غني حميد وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير صدق الله العظيم. Translation. And indeed we bestowed upon Luqman al-Hakim wisdom and religious understanding, saying, give thanks to Allah, and whoever gives thanks, he gives thanks for the good of his own self, and whoever is unthankful, then verily Allah is all rich, free of all wants, worthy of all praise. And remember when Luqman said to his son, when he was advising him, O my son, join not in worship others with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verily, joining others in worship with Allah is a great zulm, wrong indeed. And we have enjoined on man to be dutiful and good to his parents. His mother bore him in weakness and hardship upon weakness and hardship, and his weaning is in 2 years. Give thanks to me and to your parents. Unto me is the final destination. Sadaqallahu al-Azim.
Inshallah, with this we start the program. It's called Parenting Plus, and as the topic indicates, it's about how we can effectively be the better parents. Why do we need this topic? This topic is extremely important especially in today's times. Do we know how many kids in today's time feel that they are extremely sad? 60% of the kids feel that they are extremely sad. They've got this sort of a feeling. 51% of the kids think that they've got anxiety. And this previously it only used to happen in the old age. But now that age is reducing because of the way we do parenting and because of the way the schools operate nowadays. Because of that, kids as young as 3 years old, their symptoms of anxiety are seen in them. So, inshallah, we'll touch on this one briefly in today's Quran Circle. But there is another one on this topic in early December, in which we'll discuss more from the educational perspective, that what can schools do differently. And that session I'll introduce towards the end of today's program. And that is organized for various Islamic school teachers, plus the parents as well, because a lot of teaching we do at home as well. And then 57% of the kids report that they feel lonely. And all of us know that. Many a times kids are in their room and the feelings that they're going through, many of the researchers found out that they have got a very strong feeling of being lonely. 65% of the children have got disturbed digestion system. 65% of the children are going through constipation, and that's because of their mental state, because of the stresses they are going through, and it's impacting their physiology as well. So this is how severe the problem is. And that's why we are here today, to deal with this problem and what can we do effectively to find a solution for that. The philosophy that we are going to discuss today is based on 27 years of research by ERDC. This is an organization that started in Pakistan and is led by Salman Asif Siddiqui Sahab. And he basically started this organization with 3 realizations. One of the first realization was that our society is in a chaos. It's in a big chaos and a big mess at the moment. We have to do something about it. Then there was a positive feeling that we can do something about it. It's not a lost cause, something can be done about this society. And the third realization that they had was that the solution to this chaos is the meaningful education and meaningful parenting. And in line with that, they introduced a number of workshops. One of them is a very detailed workshop regarding the food choices, because a lot of what we feed our kids, not just feed their stomachs, it also feeds their thinking and their physiology as well. So a lot of it deals with that. A lot of it deals with the emotions of the children. So there are lecture series on that one. There are lecture series on the teenage matters, like what is the psychological thought process of the teenager kids. So there are workshops on that aspect as well. And then there are workshops for educational system. What should be the goals of the educational system? What are the practices that they can follow in order to avoid stress in children? So these are just some of the things that ERDC does. So I am sharing these things by ERDC just as a learner. I am studying with them in their 6-month course called Parent and Teacher Certificate. So I'm in batch 53 of ERDC. So a part of our requirement is to share the learnings. So that's what we are trying to do. I'm not sharing it from the perspective that I'm a very good parent. I am a learner, and like all the parents, we have got our own struggles, we have got our own battles to win, a lot of efforts we have to make. Especially if I talk about myself, I have got a lot of areas to improve. So I'm sharing these things just from what I have heard from our teachers, and then I am with you in this struggle in order to improve our parenting. So one of the questions they asked us a few classes back was, what have you gained from ERDC so far? And my answer was that I have developed a feeling of remorse. So far what I have done, I have developed a feeling of remorse, because there are so many things that I could have done differently when my kids were young, and that's giving me a feeling of remorse that I missed that opportunity. But at the same time, I've got a feeling of hope that I can still do something. It is still very much in our hands. We can work together with our children and achieve the goals that Salman Asif Siddiqui Sahab has explained to us that we should strive for as an ummah. So this is what we are looking for from today's session as well. We should have this feeling of what we are missing and an aim, a hope to do something great. Now I'll ask a few questions just to trigger our thinking. That's what's wrong with our parenting process. And you guys can let me know the answers. Is it possible that there is a child who earns really good grades but is internally very sad? So he's performing really good at school, but internally he feels he's sad, he's going through the feeling of anxiety. Is it possible? It is very much possible. Is it possible that there's a child at school that works very well, does his homework really well, but he's a bad decision maker? When he gets to the marriable age, then he has got relationship issues. So it is very much possible. Sometimes it can happen that we try to focus a lot that our kids should speak very fluently, should be very confident and so on. But sometimes it happens at the cost of moral values. Do you think, is that the right parenting style that we are following? What we are doing at the moment is that we are focusing only on some things. We are just focusing on partial aspects of the personality. That is not holistic personality development. That's not holistic parenting. So what we need to do is to meet all the development needs of the children. We have to do holistic parenting. So this is inshallah what we are going to cover in today's session. There are 4 basic needs of children, 4 basic development needs of the children. Inshallah we'll discuss upon them. The first and the foremost and the biggest section that you would find in today's program is about their emotional needs. And that is the area which is neglected the most, their emotional needs of the children. Then we'll discuss about their social needs, their physical needs, and their intellectual needs. These are the 4 key aspects that we have to work on in order to achieve the goals of holistic parenting. Otherwise, we'll create those people who are good in one thing but weak in many other things. So this is what we have to work on, holistic parenting. And in addition to that, we'll also discuss on some practical aspects. For example, why don't my kids listen to me? Many of the parents have got this thing that we tell something to the kids, but they don't listen to us. How to preserve confidence in children. And I'm not saying how to create confidence in children. And I'll explain why. How to preserve confidence in children. Then we'll talk about screen addiction. A lot of our kids are suffering from this type of addiction. And then we'll discuss about the importance of principle-centered conversation. So some of the practical aspects, inshallah, we'll discuss. And in addition to that, we'll also discuss about the 3 C's of education and parenting, the 3 key goals that we have to work on. Now the question is, which age group do you think it's relevant to you? Does your child, if it's small or big, do they still have got their emotional needs? Do they still have got their intellectual needs? Do they still have got their social needs? So these needs still they stay with the children. So we have to adapt our style as parent, but some of the things that inshallah we'll discuss, they are applicable for all our age groups inshallah. Now let's see some of the greater goals of holistic parenting. Many of the parents think that the goal of the parenting is that their child becomes farma bardar, their child starts to obey them. Many of us think that this is the goal of the parenting, but this is not the ultimate goal of the parenting. If your kid accepts what you are saying, but does not have the choice of what is right and what is wrong, then it means that there is a very high chance that that kid can fall into error once you are not there. And you are not there, stay there forever. So we have to make them mature to be able to have right selections. Some of the parents think that if my child is getting very good grades, if my child is performing really good at school, then that's the goal of the good parenting. It's not. We have seen it can happen that many a times children do great at school, but they are bad decision makers in life. They struggle with relationship issues. We have to nurture our kids for a lifelong success, so that they are successful as husbands, so that they are successful as fathers, so they are successful as community members. So those sort of aspects are also part of our greater goal of parenting. A couple of things that we have to strive for. Right things should become the choice of my children. It's not that he knows what is right and wrong. He should be willingly inclined towards going for what is right. So that's the greater goal of parenting. Child should be inclined to do good. He shouldn't be forced to do good. Natural inclination should be towards good. Also, the child should understand the bigger goal of life. Many of us are stuck in the herd mentality. Wherever everyone is going, we just follow the crowd and move behind them as well. Everyone thinks that we have to do great grades and then get to great universities and so on. We follow the crowd. But if I ask you, if you take out the profiles of some of the great people in the last 200 years, some of the great people in the last 200 years, you get their profiles and study the grades that they had at school or at college or even at university, you would know that this grade is just a number. It is the holistic personality that wins you in life, not the grades. So we have to focus on that as a goal of parenting. Now we will discuss about 3 C's of parenting. Before we go into those 4 special needs, we'll inshallah first create this context about the 3 C's of parenting. These are the 3 goals that we have to strive to achieve. One of the great goals that we have to strive to achieve is confidence in children. If they don't have confidence, if we kill their confidence, they would suffer a lot in life. So we have to make all the effort to preserve their confidence. Why I am saying preserve? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the children with that natural confidence. Your little child would not feel shy to come here and do things and touch someone and talk to someone, talk to a stranger, shake hands with a stranger. The kids are comfortable with that. The kids are comfortable to come here and make some noises and shout and say the things that they want to say. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them with this thing. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made that child the Khalifa on the land, on the earth, the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. So Allah has given them all the skills that they need. Allah has given them the confidence. As a young child, they have got confidence. Also, they have got a sense of khudi. They want themselves to be recognized. And inshallah, we will discuss. As the children grow, there is certain thinking in their mind. They want that thinking to be appreciated. What is khudi? Khudi is that you consider yourself important without being arrogant. That's khudi. You think that you are something, you can do something in life, but without being arrogant. That's khudi. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them with that. Then we as parents kill that khudi. We tell them, be afraid of this thing. Don't do this thing. You can't do this thing. You will fail. Don't do this thing. You will fall. So we kill that khudi. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the confidence. All we have to do is to preserve that. If we have put a lot of dirt on that, then we have to remove the dirt and get that confidence back. This is what we should try to do as parenting. From this picture you can see that character and creativity, these are the 2 other goals of parenting, but they all rest on confidence. If your child has got the confidence, the child would be able to say in the society that I will not follow the crowd. I know what is right and what is wrong and I'll go for that. The child would have like an honor in his identity. Otherwise, we'll go through the identity crisis. So child should have confidence in order to have character and creativity. And with character, there are a lot of things that we can do. We can teach them the beautiful religion of Islam and not just teach them forcefully, which unfortunately happens in many cases. We should try to develop a love for the religion in their hearts. And that way we can create the character that we need. Plus the creativity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also blessed the children with creativity. Many of the parents would realize that when we buy toys to the young children, they play with it for a short while, then they turn it upside down and they want to see what is inside the toy. Sometimes they open the toy, break it, and we as parents get angry that what have you done? You shouldn't have done that. So we are killing the natural creativity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed that kid with. So these are some of the things that we have to preserve. Now, another thing that we have to highlight before we go on to the 4 needs is that the example of the children is like that of a seed. For a seed, first thing we have to realize, the seed has got all the potential. The seed has got the potential to become a great tree. So when we look at the seed, we should have that confidence that this seed can one day become a great tree. We should have that confidence. And for that seed to become a tree, we have to give it the right environment. So the next thing that we have to do is to question our environment, that what sort of nurturing we are giving to our child. Are we watering the plant, as our sister Amina wrote this book, watering the roots? Are we giving it the right amount of water? Are we giving it the right amount of air? Is the soil that we have put this seed on, is it conducive enough for it to grow? So these are the things that we have to work on for our children to grow and become trees. So with this background, inshallah, we'll see some of the ingredients that we can provide to that seed. First ingredient is that meeting the emotional needs of that little seed. If we don't meet the emotional needs of that seed, it would never be able to grow into a big tree. In this regard, we have to understand that emotional needs are more important than the social needs of the children, more important than the intellectual needs of the children, and more important than the physical needs. Many of us are very keen to take our kids to sports and this and that, but not very keen about their emotional state of beings. So this is the thing that we have to work on. It is more important than that. If these needs are not met, then even if the child has studied or read all the books on emotional intelligence, the child would never be a successful person when he grows up. So it's important that we should realize now what are the emotional needs of our children and then fulfill them. So what we need to do in this regard is give children the sense of relationship. They should have strong relationship with us as parents. And there are a lot of things that you can do in order to nurture that relationship. One of the aspects that you can do is to have meaningful conversation with your children. According to a research, if children are not able to engage with parents in a meaningful conversation of more than 20 minutes, there are very high chances that they would take all the wrong decisions when they grow up. They would be able to please their boss, they would be able to please their seniors, but they would struggle in relationships. They would struggle as a community member. So all we need to do is to have that sort of relationship with our children, that they should be able to have long, meaningful discussions with us. If we look at us, our conversations with our children are, do this, do your homework, get there, come here, let me teach you chemistry, let me teach you math, or have you done this thing, why haven't you cleaned your room? These are all the conversations that we do with our children. What is required is meaningful, principle-centered conversation of longer durations. The children who don't have the opportunity to do that, in many cases research has identified they do not become successful in life. The other thing that we have to give to our children is feeling of being loved. Many a times children do not think that their parents love them enough. So we have to give them that feeling, especially as they grow into the teenagers. We try to discipline them more than loving them. So this is the thing that we have to work on. Feeling of being valued. Now children have got different types of intelligences. Some children are good in numbers. They can get good grades in school. But there are some kids who can do a lot of other things. The other day our teacher was telling a story about a school where he went, and there was a little girl who was unable to hear properly. She had hearing aids and so on. And plus she had some other learning difficulties as well. So in school they had to climb up some stairs. And the little kids were very worried that how should we do that? Maybe someone should help us. And that girl was the first one to quickly climb on that thing and then come down. When she saw that other guys are not able to, she came down and then she was again able to climb, while the other guys were still thinking what to do, what not to do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed children with multiple types of intelligence. You know, these IQ tests and so on, they came in the 60s and so on, when they thought that we should assess how intelligent a person is. And this is labeling the kids that you don't have good IQ, you have low IQ. So this is labeling the kid. But later on a theory came which tells that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed everyone with multiple intelligences. For some kids, it's logical, mathematics, and they do good at school. For some, it's like musical, not just in terms of the musical instruments, but in terms of singing, in terms of expressing themselves, in order to appreciate the word that is explained in the form of poetry. Some people have got that taste. Some people have got naturalistic things. So one of my friends was telling me that he does trekking in Kashmir. So he told me that he can see that what would happen 3 days from now, like whether there would be rain or not. 3 days in advance they can do that because they've got that natural ability. Allah has given them naturalistic intelligence. So every kid is intelligent. The mistake that we do is that we judge everyone by numbers. That you are not doing good at school, you need to study even more. Not realizing what the actual talent of that child is. So this is what we need to do. Our teacher says that break the connection of being valued with the numbers they get in school. If we are able to break that connection, the children would feel valued and would be able to succeed in life. They would know that I'll not be disrespected if I get 2 out of 10 in school. They know that my parents still own me, they still love me, and Allah has blessed me with other intelligences where I can make a difference in life. So this is what we have to do. Having said that, unconditional love does not mean saying yes to everything that the children say. Sometimes you would have to say no. But when you say no, it has to be backed by a principle. And the principle is that the children should be able to differentiate between their need and their want. Many a time it happens that parents don't buy things for their children and they say that we can't afford it. We can't afford that gadget that you are asking for, that iPhone, whatever you are asking for, it's too expensive, we can't buy that. All of us do that mistake. I myself do that mistake. But what is the right way is that we should tell them that is that your need or is that your want? If it's not your need, then there's no point in buying that. And that would teach them a lot of other lessons, a lot of important lessons in life. So this is the way we should say no. And when we say no to anyone, when we say no, they feel a little bit broken. So when we do that, we should love them. You should say no, but lovingly. Still hug them, still love them, and telling that I'm not doing this because it's not good for you. You want to eat that KFC? I won't do that because it's not good for you. So we should tell them those things. Now, sometimes a mistake that parents of younger children do is that we incorrectly or handle the tantrum in an incorrect manner. A child, we say to the child that we are not buying you that thing, and the child starts to weep, and then we say, okay, we're gonna buy it for you. So what does it tell the child? It tells the child that, yes, tantrum is the thing that would get me the thing. And then that child would do that thing again and again. And that thinking would not stay in the childhood. When the child grows, he would develop a complaining nature. Everything in life they would complain that this didn't happen right, this thing went wrong, I am so victimized. So they would develop this sort of a mindset. So rather we should try to have a discussion with them on the principles, that we are not doing it because of this reason. Similarly, we should not take them to the places which induce this sort of a thinking. Like for example, many parents do this mistake that for them the concept of entertainment is going to mall. We are going to a shopping center, that's the concept of entertainment. What happens when we go there? The shops designed over there are not designed by any ordinary people. They are not designed by the corner chacha who sells the bread and the eggs. It's not organized by them. It's organized by the psychologists who know how to hook people. And that's the terminology they use, the hook terminology. So if you read the book about the habits, the power of habits, you would know that these stores are designed in a way that play with your thinking. And that's when your kids say that I really want to buy that shirt, I want to buy that thing, I want to buy that. And when you don't buy that, you are breaking your child's thinking. So you're putting them in stress. So better not to go into those places a lot because they are designed to hook people into buying things. So these are some of the ways in which we can handle the things that kids demand from us, and we can say the no in a respectful and loving way. Another very important aspect with regards to meeting the emotional needs is that realization that your children needs happier parents more than they need the intelligent parents. They need happier parents more than the intelligent parents. So that's the thing that we have to realize. Many of us think that if we are very intellectual, if we give them a lot of opportunities to play and so on, they would be good. What we have to realize is that we have to work on our relation with our spouse as well. If that relation is not good, if the child sees us having a quarrel all the time at home, then the child would go through an intellectual trauma, emotional trauma. So we have to work on those aspects. So we have to work on our relationship, and then that would teach the child how they should behave when they grow old. Now, so we are covering different topics within the emotional needs. The next topic that I want to cover is understanding what your child is thinking at a particular point in time. And if you don't realize that thinking and do not meet the requirements of that child, what impact would it create for him in the longer run? Not just for the time being, it can have lifelong impacts. Let's see those three important questions. When your child is small, the child is always thinking, am I being noticed? Is someone noticing me? Is my father or mother looking at me? And if you are not, they would sometimes throw away one of their favorite things. They don't play with that anymore because you are not noticing. And that would create a gap in them. When they grow old, they would always be in that sort of a mindset of trying to seek attention of people. We have all come across those people who do various things just to draw attention, doing something which normal people won't do just in order to get attention. It is because of that deficit of attention that we made them go through when they were a kid. That's the reason for that. Many parents sometimes say that if a kid is weeping, a father would say or a mother would say, let him weep. After some time he would be fine. Let him weep. But you are depriving that child of the attention that he needs or she needs in that age. And that would have a long-term impact. Sometimes the child would weep louder in order to get attention. And as he or she grows, he would have that gap that I should do things in order to just get attention of people. And sometimes they would behave silly because of that, just trying to seek attention. So we should give them attention, we should appreciate them, we should look at them, we should give them the realization that yes, I am looking at you lovingly. When kids get to the teenage, all they think is that, how do I look? Am I looking good? Am I looking beautiful? That's what they are thinking. So at this stage, as parents, we have to give them confidence that looking good is not the only goal in life. It's not the only goal in life. The real beauty is the beauty inside. Even if your hair is a little bit here or there, the real beauty is inside your heart. We have to have a meaningful conversation about this with our children. If we just tell them, like many of us do, no, you are fine, no worries, you are looking good, come, let's go. That's not enough. There has to be a meaningful conversation on this topic because your child is specifically thinking about that in that age. He would look at himself numerous times in the mirror, boy or girl. In that age, they do that. So we have to realize that and fulfill that urge. Let them know how they're looking and tell them that the real beauty is inside. Also, this is one of the things that because of which children lose a lot of self-esteem. In this age, children lose self-esteem because they think they're not looking good. But if we have got that connection with our children, that we love them unconditionally, then they would be able to preserve their self-esteem. So this is what we should do. And the other thing that they feel in this age is that, what does my club think of me? All the children, especially in teenage, associate themselves with some club, some friends, some people. They are very much concerned about how do they think of us. Do they think I'm good? Do they think I'm not good? So they are very much concerned about that. So we should be able to provide them good company. Many of us do this mistake that in that age we isolate them because sometimes we are too worried about the grades and sometimes we are too worried about their sports for some parents. So we have to give them an environment where they have got good friends, good company, so that that becomes their club. Otherwise, club would be the people at school maybe, and not all of them would be good. For them, sometime having a girlfriend would be a good thing when you are a teen, and if you are not, they would say, hey, this boy doesn't have a girlfriend. They would sometimes make a joke about it. So in that age, children are very much concerned about what their club is thinking about them. And they would do sometimes silly things because of that. Sometimes children start smoking or vape. I don't know what it is, but I've heard that this is a thing in schools nowadays as well. So vaping, smoking, these things they do because their fellows do that. And if you don't do that, they would think it doesn't do that. That's why they start doing those things. So very important to provide them right company. Very important to provide them good friends who they can look up to. that these are the people that I should strive to be like. So these are some of 3 questions that we have to realize what stage our child is in, and then try to support them with that. Another important thing is that when your child is going through one of these questions in their mind and trying to find an answer, you should be available as a parent to help them. You should be available as a parent to counsel them. And there are certain characteristics that you have to produce in yourself in order to be able to provide counseling to your children. And these are just 4 aspects. Now, I would like to highlight at this point, we are discussing a lot of things in here, and some of these things would skip out of our mind. What I'm doing is that I'm presenting a summary of many lectures. So one of the things you can do is that maybe you can go through all the detailed lectures later on. The other thing you can do is that inshallah this presentation would be available on our Facebook page, so you can access that and go through these things again. Otherwise, what would happen is that we would just hear them in the session, and maybe an hour or 2 after the session, we'll all forget about that again. So that's very important that we should be able to reconnect with that, have a look at that inshallah, and it will be available from our Facebook page. The next topic inshallah that we're going to study is about managing the temperament. And this is again a major issue with parents, and I consider myself in this boat as well. So there are some real serious things that we have to do as parents. So we are all struggling in this regard, managing temperament. So why is managing the temperament important? Why is it important? The first reason is that we cannot do the tarbiyah of our children, we cannot nurture them in an effective way if we have got a bad temperament. So if we have bad temperament, we can only wish that we will be able to do good tarbiyah of our children, but we won't be able to achieve that. So for that, good temperament is the key in order to nurture your children. And that's why we are discussing it in this workshop. Now you would see that in many of the things that we are discussing, you are not thinking about children, you are not working on children, you are working on your own self. And that is how you can become better parents. Some people think that, okay, I'm bad, I can't do good things at home, but I'll send my child to an Islamic school. And they think that Islamic school would do some wonders, and the child would turn out like a gold from that school. It doesn't happen, because the first and the foremost connection that the child has is with you as parents. So that should be the strongest bond that we should have. Also, we have to realize that we'll be accountable for what we are sending for tomorrow. We'll be accountable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that every one of you should think and consider what He is sending for tomorrow. So what we are sending for tomorrow is our good deeds in one way, but our children in another meaning. So this is what we are leaving for tomorrow's society, for the ummah of tomorrow. This is what we are leaving. So we should make sure that we leave the best people to lead this ummah. So this is what we have to be very much concerned about. Now, when does it become most important to work on our temperament? It becomes most important when our children enter the teenagers. It's entered all the time, it's important all the time, but becomes extremely important when our children enter the teenage. Why is that? The reason for that is that after 13 years or so, children develop the habit of argument. They like to reason with you. They won't just say yes to things. You say do that, they won't just say yes. They would ask, why should I do that? Why should I not move my leg? And why should I not jump and so on? They should ask you reason for everything. So at that moment, sometimes we as parents become a little bit like we don't have the ability to restrain ourselves. Sometimes we get angry that why is he asking so many questions? If I'm saying you have to follow me, don't argue, don't ask things. So this is what happens with many of our parents. So this is the time when we have to work on our temperament the most. Now the question is, we are asking about temperament. What exactly is temperament? Now in this regard, it's important to realize that temperament is not a short-term thing. Sometimes you can have bursts of good mood. Sometimes you can have bursts of bad mood. Sometimes you will be making up how you are feeling. Like for example, if you are in front of a company In the company of people, sometimes people are really good, look really good, that I'm a very loving dad or I'm a very loving mom. But when we are alone, the kids see a different side of us. So our temperament or our mizaj, as we call in Urdu, is what we do without any external pressures, what we naturally do, which we don't have to make up, which we really are. And that is exposed in our private life, not in public life. In public life, most of the people are good. Those who behave badly in the public as well, those are the extreme. Those people are gone to the extreme. But many of the bad people are even good in public. What we are talking about here is being good in your private life as well. So that's what your temperament actually is. Mood is different from temperament. Mood is not temperament. Mood is determined by your physical state. If you are hungry, you would behave in certain way. If you are thirsty, you would behave in certain way. And that's why we see, very unfortunately, how many of us behave just before the time of iftar in Ramadan. And we say, don't come to us because we are fasting. We are unable to control ourselves, which shouldn't be the case. We should have good control on ourselves. But mood is determined by your physical state. The wise people do not let their behaviors governed by their mood. So wise people control that. Now, what's the criteria that you have got a good temperament? We are saying that it's extremely important for us to develop good temperament. What's the criteria for that? The criteria is that people, especially our children, should feel our presence enjoyable. They should not try to run away from us. Oh, dad is coming, let me go to my room. So many of kids, especially in the teenage, do that. When the dad is coming, they just sneak into their rooms. So they should find our company enjoyable. And I have seen some parents whose kids really enjoy their company. They really want to be with their father. And I aspire to be like them. And we should all. So some of those fathers are doing this miraculous job as parents. Their kids love to be with them. Also, people and our kids should feel secure and comfortable with us. They should know that we wouldn't explode at something they would say to us. Also, they should feel respected. We all know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which it is said that the meaning of which, or the interpreted meaning of which, is that do unto others as you want them to do unto you. So who does it involve? Who does it include? Does it include just the matter of giving gifts, that you are liking for your brother what you like for yourself, that I'll give him that tablet because I want that similar tablet for myself? Is it just related to the gifts? It's also related to the behaviors, especially with children as well. If we want to be respected, the same level of respect we should give to our children as well, and only then they would grow. So these are some of the things that determine or give us an indication of what sort of temperament do we have. And we can all self-assess ourselves. Do our children enjoy our company? Or do they think that, oh no, he would just tell me again more things, more lectures to come, and I'll have to hear a long talk. So we'll have to question ourselves on these things. Now, 4 practical steps to improve your temperament. One of the steps is purity of intent. You should genuinely want to improve yourself. Genuinely want to improve yourself. And that would come with dua. You would seek from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He should guide us to make us to become better parents. The second thing is purity of thought. Many a times our temperament is bad because there is some thought process going in our mind. We think, why me? Why does it always happen to me? Why do only I have to sacrifice and my partner doesn't do anything? Why does it happen to me? Why my kids do this to me? That victim mentality that they have. So we have to purify our thought process as well. Sometimes the bigger person is that who forgives. We should not just focus on the situations and the qanun, that I'm doing this because this person did that to me. If we are in that sort of a mentality, we cannot develop good relationships. So we should think beyond that. The one who has got more wisdom has got more onus on him or her to seek forgiveness, even if he or she hasn't done wrong. Bigger people seek forgiveness first, with our children as well. And for children, they should do it to their parents as well. Sometimes they get upset that, why are you telling me this thing when I haven't done a mistake? The bigger person or the better person is that who's the first one to seek forgiveness, who's the first one to say, I'm sorry. So this is a thing that we should have to work on as parents as well as children. The other thing that we can do is to have the company of people who have got good temperament. If we see those people, how they are dealing with their children, how they deal with similar situations when they, as parents, we would be able to learn a lot from them. So be in the company of people who have got good temperament. And the fourth and the most important thing is that we should seek for feedback. We all know the meaning of the hadith, according to which the Muslim is a mirror of another Muslim. A Muslim is a mirror of another Muslim. What does the mirror do? The job is the mirror is to show you exactly how you are. That's the job of the mirror. Sometimes we put fog on the mirror because of our behaviors, so that we don't see the clear picture. People don't give us the feedback because they think that if we give them the feedback, they would disrupt, they would explode. So this is the fog that we have put on the mirror. But if we remove that fog, we'll be able to develop a relationship when our children can give us feedback. And we can give feedback to our children. They can let us know where we are going wrong. Our partner can tell us where we are doing mistake. And that feedback would be the most important feedback. Why? Because temperament is what you show in your private life, not in your public life. So people in your private life would be able to give you the feedback. So what we should do is that in our situation, we should see what are the things that irritate us, how do we respond to them, at what cost. Sometimes we get too angry on our children, what does it result in? And can I do something differently? So every time something bad happens in your home, in your house, in your parenting task, think about those things. What could have been done differently? And not just think about what the child should have done differently. We should question ourselves as well, that what should have I done differently? Now a topic which would be of very much relevance to all of you. And that is, why does my kid doesn't listen to me? Many of the parents have got this worry that they tell something to the children and the children don't obey. They don't listen to them. There can be various reasons for that. So let's explore some of the reasons. If your child thinks that you have got some ethical issues, you do not have the right moral values, then the child would not follow what you are saying. He would just ignore you. He would know that this is an unethical person. Even if he wouldn't say it on your mouth, on your face, but he knows inside his heart, unethical person, I don't have to listen to him. So we should try to be the role models for our children. We should not be the bad exemplar for our children, because back of their mind they would know that this is not a person who has to be respected. Psychological issues with the parents sometimes. Sometimes we are too unrealistic in what we are demanding from the parent. Smiling to the children. And again, I am sharing what I have heard from some of my colleagues and some of our teachers. They question the children that when have you seen your mother smile to you? And when have you seen your mother smile? And many children say that she smiles when she is not talking to me. When she is talking to another child or to another auntie, she smiles. But with me, she is generally angry. Or my father is generally angry with me. But when he is talking to other children, he is very, how are you doing, how you do, and those sort of things. But with me, he is always angry. So this is what many children say. So we should look at things from the perspective of our children as well. What do they think of us? Also, weak linguistic competence, especially when we are living in West. Many of us are from backgrounds where we had a different mother tongue. Our children who are born here or who have been raised here or who have come here at a very early age, for them there is a different perspective. They would not exactly understand meaning of many of the things that we say. We would think that I have said this thing to him, he would have understood, but he doesn't. Because he doesn't have the language competence that you have in your mother tongue. And kids would assume that you are saying something else. For example, when we say our kids don't listen to us, ye meri sunta nahi hai. He doesn't listen to us. So by that we do not mean that he doesn't hear us. We actually mean that he doesn't follow us. But we say that he doesn't listen to us. And the kids say, no, I am listening. Or when we want that kid should be really attentive towards something, we say, come listen to this. And he say, okay, yes, I'm listening. While laying, he would say, yes, I'm listening. It's the problem of the parents. What we actually want to say is that come and be attentive towards what I'm saying. What we say instead is, come listen to this. So different meaning, different linguistic competence between parents and children. That is one of the reasons why children don't listen to us. Another reason is child being stressed. Sometimes they are stressed, and in that stress they wouldn't listen to us. They want their own zone. They want their own time in which they have to figure out their problems. If we ask them to do something at that time, sometimes they don't listen. So as parents, we have to keep this thing in mind and question that, is this child really stressed? What can I do about this child? How can I help him? Also, many a times, the relationship between parents and children is not good. And you might be shocked, because I know many of most of you are good parents, but I have seen some parents who really neglect their children. For them, their own entertainment comes first and children come second. For them, their own job comes first. One of my friends said that he has only seen his child like either always horizontally, hasn't seen his children vertically, because when he leaves for work, they are sleeping. When he comes back after work, they are sleeping again. So he only sees them horizontally, never seen them vertically. So many of us do that. Those long hours, we are so worried about our business. For us, money is the main thing, more important than our children. So many parents neglect their children at the cost of their job. Sometimes we neglect them for the studies of our children. You have to study, and all their other needs are sacrificed. Their emotional need, their social need, their spiritual needs, they are all sacrificed because we want them to get good grades. So this is what causes our children not to listen to us. Also, the next one, you can see this owl. And this owl in the culture that we live in is about intelligence. But in the culture where we have come from, this means the other side of the spectrum. So many a times it happens that children think that we are not this owl from the Western perspective, but from the other perspective, that my parents don't understand anything. They don't understand what I'm saying. You don't know what I'm talking about. They have got this sort of a feeling. Why does this feeling happen? This feeling happens when your children think that you are unable to make right decisions. You don't make decisions based on the actual facts. You follow the crowd. You go in which everyone else is going. You want to follow that direction as well. If your child has got some creativity, you don't let it nurture, because that's not what is accepted in the society. You just want to follow everyone. Everyone should get good marks. Everyone should do engineering degree or a medical degree. Everyone should just follow the crowd and do exactly as they are doing. So many of us are in that sort of a thing. So we should be able to nurture the creativity of our children. Otherwise, they would get that irritation from us that he never listens to me. He never understands what I am saying. So this is what we have to do. The other thing is lack of proper introduction to Islam. In many families, the way we introduce Islam is many a time by force. That you haven't memorized this, sit here now, you have to do it. Or there's no intellectual attachment with Islam. The kid doesn't understand why I have to do something. Doesn't understand the importance of moral values in Islam. Everything is happening by force. And in some of the Sunday schools that I've seen here, this matter is extreme matter. The child comes from school, they go there, memorization without any understanding. So many places this happens. So this has to change. So Islam should be introduced to them in an intellectual way. They should know why we are believing in this, why we are doing certain things, why we are different from the crowd. When my peers enjoy or celebrate in a particular way, why don't we do that? When winning a World Cup, a particular team celebrates in a particular fashion, but we are not like that, we don't do it like that. Why are we different? Why can't I have a girlfriend? Why can't I go to my friend's house and do the sleepover? Why can't I do that? This has to be intellectually explained to them, not just by force. I'm saying it, that's why you can't go. This way they would develop a sort of irritation from us. Intellectual conversations have to happen. And for that, I would recommend to parents a very useful book. And this book is called Towards Understanding Islam by Maulana Sayyid Abul Ala Maududi, which explains these basic aspects of Islam in an intellectual manner, not from just a theological manner, from an intellectual manner. Why should we do that? Why should we offer prayer? Why should we fast? Why is Hajj important? So it's very important for our children to go through that. Those brothers who understand Urdu, it's called Diniyat. Alright, now some practical suggestions of what we can do differently in order to come out of that problem. One of the things that we should aspire to become as a parent is to be the most liked person by my child. The child should see inspiration in me. If the child doesn't feel that, they would never follow us. They would never think that they should obey us. They would never feel that. So you should become the most liked person by your child. The child should look up to you that I want to be like him. Or if we can't do that, we should try at least that we shouldn't become the most disliked person by our children. Oh, dad again, he has come. Now he would get angry with me and so on. So at least we can try to do that. The other thing that we need to do is to be accessible to our children. Many a times it happens that our child wants to say us something, but we are too busy doing other things. We are too busy cooking, we are too busy talking on phone, we are too busy watching a drama, and we say, why are you disturbing me again and again? So this shouldn't happen. If you don't listen to him, the child wouldn't listen to you. When he grows up, he wouldn't listen to you. So you have to give attention to your child and be accessible to them. Also, giving them the experience of silence is very important. Nowadays, we are surrounded by shouts, we are surrounded by a lot of noise. If you go to the mall, music is being played from somewhere, some equipment is running somewhere, air conditioning is running somewhere. So we don't have experience to silence. If you are in silence, then you would feel if a voice is coming, that it's different from silence and I have to pay attention to that. So then they would develop that mindset that they have to pay attention when they are talked to. Otherwise, it would happen that kid is just doing something, not bothering about what's happening. Because for kid, you are now a background noise. You are a background noise for them. So they wouldn't pay attention. Because you haven't exposed them to silence. They don't know what is silence, and then I have to pay attention to what is not silence. We have just kept them in noise. Movies, TVs, and so on. Games, all the time busy somewhere. So psychologists say that we have to give exposure of silence to our children sometime. Also sometime what parents do. So what we are discussing at the moment is that there are 4 aspects regarding these practical suggestions. At this moment we are discussing what we should do as parents. What are the main things that we should do? Broader things. We should also not give bad reputation to our kids. Sometimes what we do is that we discuss about our kids in front of others. Oh, he doesn't listen to me. Oh, he is too clever. He is too like that. He is too that. He is too this. So we give bad reputation to our children. And children have got these 2 years. They hear what we are saying. And then they get upset about it. That they are talking bad about me. What if it happens to you? You are sitting somewhere and I say to someone, hey, don't listen to me. He is that. He is this sort of a person. How would you feel? You would feel really irritated. And you wouldn't like to talk to me. If I'm asking something, you wouldn't follow me. Because you would think that this person is disrespecting me. So this is what we should do. Another thing that our teacher says is that if your child misbehaves with you, you have to go back to your parents and seek forgiveness from them. Because inevitably, you have done a similar thing to your parent. Maybe you have been disrespectful to your parents. So go and seek forgiveness from them. Another thing that we should do as parents is storytelling. Have you seen that a child is not listening at all? And then suddenly I say, once upon a time. And then he comes and sits and sees what happens next. What happened once upon a time. So stories get their attention as well. And they give them the stamina to think for a longer durations and listen. Otherwise they don't develop the stamina. Nowadays we have given mobile phones to our children. They just play on them, one thing after the other. Stamina is not built. They can't listen. And that is why you would have seen people can't read books anymore. They can't read long books. They can't stay still for a long period of time. They can't even listen to the lectures. Long lectures, they can't listen to it. It's too much for them. Shortly afterwards, people start getting bored. and eyes become big, and we all start to get sleepy because we haven't given them that exposure. Now, some of the things that we should develop in order to have the right skill set of listening. If you want your children to listen to you, you have to listen to them in a right manner. One of the things, listen calmly. Sometimes I have seen parents, and myself also have done this sometime. If child want to say something, we are always in an urgency. Okay, quickly, just tell me what you want to say. I need it quick, I don't have time, quick. So this is what gives them the mindset, gives them the feeling that I'm not important for my father. For him, the most important thing is what he's doing. I'm not important. So if they've got this mindset about you, they wouldn't give you attention. They wouldn't give you their ear. Acknowledge and repeat. This is a practical thing that we can do. When our child says something to us, we should say, yes, I have heard that. So you are asking me that you want to go for skating. Okay, so when should we do that? I think tomorrow is a good time for that. So we should repeat back what we are saying. Also, do not complete sentences for them. Sometimes it can happen that young children, especially young ones, when they are talking, they are thinking at the same time as well. So when they are thinking, we just complete the sentence for them and don't let them finish. And this way they can develop that personality disorder. Don't cut them when they are saying something. Listen to them attentively. Sometimes they are saying something and we say something else. Saying, Mama, this happened in school. Go please bring that table, bring that plate. So this thing can happen as well. So this gives them the feeling that I'm not important, that thing is more important. So we shouldn't do that. The next thing is the art of speaking. How you should say the thing that you want from your child. Seek child's attention before saying something. Do not just say suddenly, I want this. Maybe set a context that, Ahmad, I want to talk to you about one thing. Can you come here? Let's have a chat about this. Set the context. Do not just throw your thing. Say things at the right time. When kid is deeply engrossed in something, the child wouldn't listen to you. He's playing a game and he's about to maybe crash somewhere, and you say that, what happened at the school today? And he wouldn't listen to you because he's too engrossed. So say things at the right time. Sometimes we show hopelessness with our children. I'm saying you, but I know you won't follow that. I'm saying you because I'm a father, but I know you won't follow. So this is again that creates that gap in their personality. Be concise and clear. Do not have long-winded statements with everything, and talk in a respectful manner. The last thing in this regard is that be just in what you are asking. Do not be unjust in demand. For example, if child is doing something which is not prohibited in Islam, it might not be relevant in your culture, but it's not prohibited in Islam. We shouldn't be unduly stopping them from something. And we all are victim of that. Because we want to follow the herd. We want to follow the crowd. That in crowd, it doesn't look right to maybe have the open buttons while your t-shirt is in, maybe just as an example. So we want to follow the crowd and we stop them from doing the things. So if something is not prohibited in Islam, we should try not to stop them. And don't ask them to do things that you don't do. If you are spending all your day on your mobile, watching Facebook and WhatsApp and so on, and you ask them, don't do that, it's not good for you. But you are doing it all the time, they wouldn't listen to you. So we have discussed about our first topic, which is our emotional needs of the children. Now we'll discuss about the other topics. Some of them would be pretty quick. If you are thinking that it would take a lot of time, it wouldn't. We will inshallah finish on time. So these topics are a bit smaller than the first topic. So we discussed there are 4 key development needs for the children that we have to meet in order to do holistic parenting. One of them was emotional needs. The second one is their physical needs. They have got a physical need as well. The first requirement with regards to their physical being is the type of food that we give them. And the food is not just to fill the stomach. It fills your thinking as well. The type of food that you give gives them the pattern of thinking. For example, the fruit that we call in Urdu anar, or in English we call pomegranate. So that fruit, if you eat without putting anything on it, like no salt and any other thing, and you eat it at the room temperature, like how naturally it is, then I have heard from the nutritionist that it helps you in avoiding a lot of bad internal psychological feelings. For example, the feeling of jealousy, it helps you prevent that. And the same is the case with a number of other fruits. The food fulfill our mental state as well. They help us being mentally strong, plus they also help us being physically strong. One of the scholars was mentioning that a mother came to him and said that my child is unable to speak properly. He's unable to speak clearly. And you know what he said to him? He said to that mom that go and make him eat the sugar cane, and he should peel it from his teeth, and then he should eat it from his mouth, because that way the tongue is making an effort, and that muscle would become stronger. Sometimes we go into processed food, which is easy to chew, easy to cook, and easy to chew, and that way some of the benefits that they can acquire do not get realized. So natural foods is what we should go towards. And inshallah we can deliver a whole lecture on nutrition, and we can seek help from our respected Dr. Saab as well. So inshallah we can organize a separate lecture for that. Especially I would like to do that for the mothers, because it's an extremely important topic and many of us don't realize the importance of that. Then sleep. We should also pay attention to the sleep of our children. If they are exposed to devices 4 hours before they sleep, they wouldn't have good sleep. There are certain rays from their devices which can interrupt their sleep. And what happens if they don't have good sleep? There are certain chemicals that accumulate in our brain. And when we sleep, those chemicals are released. If we don't have good sleep, or if our sleep is disrupted, then those chemicals would stay there and it would impact our mood. It would impact our mood. We will be irritable in the morning. Exercise, sports, we should give them an opportunity to play. Some scholars say that 50 minutes a day is what your child needs. Sometimes because of tuition, because of evening school, because of Sunday school, we don't give them this opportunity. So 50 minutes a day they need to go out and play in nature. Now comes the topic which is extremely important. Screen addiction. This is an addiction. The psychologists define it as a form of addiction, the screen addiction. And it is a form of addiction which has become socially acceptable. In the past, there were certain addictions that were socially unacceptable. People didn't like that someone is having a certain drug or so on. But this is a form of addiction that has become socially acceptable. We all are suffering from this, ourselves and our children. So extremely important to know what we need to do. The first thing we need to do in that regard is have conversation with our children and let them know the hazards of what they are doing. If we are focusing on screen, what happens? If I'm looking at my screen, what happens? Am I observing what's on the wall? Am I observing what's up there? Am I observing what the kids at the back are doing? I'm just focused on that thing. So psychologists say that because of those screens, our ability to concentrate goes very low. We are unable to concentrate. There will be things in front of us and we'll be looking where that thing is because we are unable to find it. The ability to concentrate goes low. Dopamine addiction, that's a hormone in our brain, dopamine. What does it do? Historically, people thought of different reasons of its existence. But now the researchers realize that it deals with the reward center in our brain. It gives us a feeling of reward. If we do something, we like it, the brain wants us to do that thing again. When we eat food, certain amount of dopamine is released because it wants us to repeat that behavior. So it's about the reward. You like something, you want to do it again. With regards to the screen, the amount of dopamine released is much more. So it really basically makes people addictive to that. They want to do it again and again and again. You are working maybe on a research project, you are busy with your thing. Every 2 seconds you will pick your mobile and see if there's any message and then put it back again. So it's such an addictive thing. So psychologists say that it does release very high amounts of dopamine in your brain. Same amount of dopamine that is released when you are on drugs. It's that addictive. And then the psychologists also compared the brain scans of people. Brain scan of a normal people and brain scan of a heroin addict and a screen addict. And those two had a lot of similarities with each other. So this is an addiction. So we have to make our kids realize that it is a form of addiction that can ruin our life. Sometimes our partner is talking to us, myself guilty as well, and we are busy on phone. Our child is talking to us and we are busy on phone. Or the vice versa. We are talking to the child and the child wants to still browse. And he's playing a game, he can't leave the game because of that dopamine addiction. The dopamine is releasing, the child can't leave that thing, can't leave the game, can't quit the video before it's complete. So this is the conversation that we have to have with our children. And these devices are made to hook people, that hook model that I mentioned earlier. It results on our health and it results on our mood impacts. Sleep quality, as I mentioned, is disrupted. Mood swings. Psychologists say that because of this addiction, we have mood swings. Sometimes we'll get too irritated. On a little thing, we'll get irritated. And the thing which is most serious, because of these devices, 60% of the children feel loneliness, and many of the kids try to do self-harm. They don't even realize why they are having that feeling of loneliness. But they feel that because of these devices, psychology prove, and many of them try to do self-harm as well. So psychologists link it to the excessive use of devices. Now some of the things that we can do. First thing we should do is that we should give devices to our kid as late as possible. According to a research, 85% of the kids, 85%, they get the device in their infancy. We give them the device, watch your cartoon on this thing and so on. On little kids, less than 1 year old, 85% of the kids in the developed countries have got that sort of an exposure. So how are we preparing them? It's an addiction, and we are putting our 1 year old on the drug that go and enjoy that video. If the kid is trying to sleep, we put the TV on with poems and so on, and they are watching those characters and get mesmerized, and that way we are damaging their concentration. So introduce them as late as possible. They would need to have the devices, but try to do it as late as possible. Reduce the use yourself. We ourselves should reduce the use and then ask our kids to reduce that. Replace the watching of things on screen with stories. When they are eating, maybe we should tell them stories so that they get that additional benefit out of it. Also, we should have conversations with them, seek advice from them regarding how to control it. Ask your kids regarding what you can do to control it, and give them your feedback that maybe my son, you can control it this way, and ask them their feedback that how can I improve myself? I as father, how can I reduce my usage of the thing? And then make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we believe that everything is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hand. The hearts are in between the fingers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can change the hearts whenever He wants. So we should make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change our hearts towards what we are seeking, if it's good for us. And also keep your devices away from you, the 20-second rule. Now comes the social needs. Shyness is one of the problems, and this happens when we create fears of things in the minds of our kids. That what would happen if this thing happens? Don't do that. What would people think? When we engross this thing again and again, what would people think? That would induce shyness in them. So we should try to be bold ourselves, remain connected with those 3 questions they have in their mind, especially in teenage. They wouldn't sometimes like to go in front because they're too worried how they're looking, what their club is thinking of them. So we should remain connected with those questions and try to help them as much as possible. Maybe they would again regain their confidence after they are through this age. And for some kids, they can just continue having the confidence. Also, we should expose them to good friends. Find them good friends, good company. And relatives. Let them meet relatives. In Australia, unfortunately, many of us don't have our relatives here. But for us, we should be each other's family. We should take them to the sitting where they can have opportunity to talk to adults, where they can see the real world things. In the workshop that I mentioned, that would happen inshallah on 3rd of December, we'll go deep into how kids learn and what do they observe from the environment. So inshallah we'll discuss this in more detail. They are not interested in toys. They are interested in the real world things. They would make a toy out of everything. If you are sitting, they would make a toy out of your leg. So, but the thing is that we should involve them in real life situations. And in that workshop, I'll mention to you a story of a wonderful school in Denmark, where there are no teachers. And in that school, they've got professionals, just professionals. Some wood carpenter, some artist, some musician, and so on. And the kids go to them and involve in real world situations in order to learn. So inshallah, in that workshop, I'll discuss about that. But give your children exposure to real world things rather than make up things. I still sometimes regret my engineering years when I was studying engineering, that they used to teach us mathematics just for the sake of mathematics. Solve this problem. And sometimes in school as well, just solving and not knowing where I would use it. So it has to be application oriented. You have to know what is the real world situation where I can apply that. So this is what we need to do. Intellectual needs. We should allow our children to ask questions. Do we sometimes realize that the questions that our children ask are the most intelligent questions, most philosophically heightened, at a height of philosophy are those questions. Where is God? Why can't I see God? If God is here, why can't I see God? Why should we pray in certain direction? Why did Allah make me when He already knew what I would do? So these are very high philosophical questions. The way to respond that is not to shut them. Don't ask these questions. You ask too many questions. Don't do that. The way to deal with them is to provide them with intellectual answers. And for that, the prerequisite is that the parents should themselves be searching the answers for these things. So sometimes the answers of the kids can give you great solutions, not only from the philosophical point of view, but also from scientific point of view. They would come up with ideas. One of the, about Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, he was a very naughty child, because we think that great people are those who seek great numbers in school. He didn't have great marks in school. In fact, he was the naughtiest boy. And one day his mother was very angry with him and was searching for him. And she was looking for him. Where is Thomas? Where is Thomas? And then she found her in a store. And you know what Thomas was doing there? He was sitting on an egg. And his mother asked, what are you doing? He said, I'm experimenting that how long does it take for an egg to come out, from a chick to come out of this egg if the hen sits on it. So I'm just providing it the environment and seeing when it would come out. So that sort of natural curiosity that he had. So this is what we have to encourage, and not just follow the herd, that we just have to get good numbers even if children are not getting anything from that. So let them experiment, let them have questions, let them develop the language. Sometimes it happens that you as parents have got 22,000 to 30,000 words of your native language. For example, those brothers who are from Urdu speaking background or from Malay speaking background, you have got 22 to 30,000 words at least of your language. The other language where you have come, for example English, you would have a few thousand words, 350, 4,000, 400, 1,000, 2,000 words. That's all we have for English. If we have got this constraint, we can never engage in a deeper thought. We cannot engage in a deeper thought. Deeper thought would happen if we have got a large vocabulary. Now with our kids, we try to speak English. Even though we are from Urdu background, but with kids, we'll speak English. And the English would be based on simple sentences. Do that, eat this apple, pick up the glass. We cannot go into a deeper conversation in that. And the outcome of that is that kids develop a surface level mentality. Everything, they just want to do surface level. They cannot dig deep into anything. That's the problem that we have put ourselves in and our children in. So at home, we should try to speak with them in the language that the kids heard in the first 3 years of their life. They were hearing Urdu. Now they have developed English. Or switch the other way. As parents, you would never have been able to do meaningful conversations with them. If English is what they have developed more competence in, then let them think deeply in English. And don't impose other languages on them. So language competency. Our scholars say, Dr. Salman Saab say, that give your children the magnifying glass. Before you give pencil in their hand, give magnifying glass in their hand. And in this young age, they would be exposed so many things. They would know what is the design of the veins in the leaf, what is how the hairs look on the leg of an ant, and so on. They would observe all those things. So give them a magnifying glass before you give them pencil. For many of us, we don't give that luxury to our children, that holy device. We don't give it to our children till they go to the university. They don't see that device. So this is something we should do. At home, we should have place where the kids can do experimentation. Just play with colors, play with things, have some tool, open things. So this is what we have to give to our young children. Opportunity for them to experiment. Also, in that workshop, inshallah, that we'll do on 3rd of December, I'll explain how children develop the ability to read naturally. So in order to facilitate that, we have to have a bookshelf at home. Kids should be able to randomly pick a book and be able to study that. Not just the kids' book with a lot of pictures, but the books of the adult world as well. So we should have a library at home. Now, when we talk about the intellectual needs of the children, we do not mean that they are good in academics. Sometimes we focus on academics at the cost of the quality of life. Being happy in life is different from having a good job. So kids should realize that thing. Also, we should clarify to our kids the concept of earning. What should be their aim of life? As parents, the subliminal messages that we are giving to our kids is that your sole job is to earn well. Study hard so that you get a good job and then you earn more. So everything revolves around earning. So this is the message that we are giving to our children. So we have to break that barrier. We have to earn only as much as what is required for our needs. Basic needs, not our wants. This is what we should try to earn. For example, when you go to study in a library, you fill a little bottle of water and take that with you. You do not use your full bottle filling potential or water acquiring potential. You don't do that. Even if you can open the tap and you can get as much water as you want, but you don't do that because that's not your need. You can also fill a tanker of water and take with you to the library and keep it with you, but we don't do that. Why do we do it then for our earning? Why do we want to use the maximum potential that we have to earn? We want to earn that much. There is more to life than earning. We shouldn't compromise on the quality of life for earning more. And this is what we need to teach our children as well. They should enjoy their life. They should have a meaningful life. They should have a bigger purpose in life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send them in this earth just to earn money. He sent them for a bigger goal. We are disconnecting them from a bigger goal just for the money, which is just something we need to live. It's not the goal of our life. We make that the goal of our life. And our whole life rotates around that. Also, we should try to develop entrepreneurship skills in our children so that they are not just dependent on the job. They are just not in a slavery in another form. So entrepreneurship, we should expose them. And scholars say that by the time they reach the age of 15, they should have been given the opportunity to explore at least 3 types of businesses. Maybe selling something, making something, and doing some business online. Maybe making some websites, doing something, acquiring some skills. So 3 exposures are required before the age of 15. Those whose kids are of younger age, give them experience, give them exposure. And if we go to Pakistan, Salman Asif Siddiqui Sahab said that give them exposure of doing an internship at the Sabzi Wala shop. Let them study the Sabzi Wala model, from where the vegetables comes. How are they put on the shelf? How does the business model work? Because if the business is small, the kid would have opportunity to see end-to-end what happened in that business. So that end-to-end exposure is much better than the piecemeal exposure. Now the last thing, the last slide that I want to show is again about that workshop that inshallah we'll have on 3rd of December. And in that we'll inshallah decode the difference between Taaleem and Tarbiyah. Taaleem is knowing what is right and what is wrong. Tarbiyah is making right choices, selecting what is right. That's the Tarbiyah. And in that we'll also study about how kids learn. What are the mental processes through which kids acquire learning? Inshallah, we'll discuss that in workshop. It's specifically aimed at the Islamic studies teachers, the teachers of Sunday schools and madaris, but it would be equally beneficial for the parents. And inshallah, in that we'll also discuss one of the very important books, which is called Learning All the Time by John Holt. So I request everyone to please join that session. 3rd of December is Friday, and inshallah this workshop will happen in the evening at Thornley Masjid. So please join that inshallah, starting at 4:30. I forgot to explain about this book that you see on your screen, The 4-Hour Work Week. Has anyone heard of that book? This book is about reducing your working hours. Many of us work throughout our life so that we can enjoy in the old age. But when we get to that age, we have no urge to enjoy because we have got too old. We don't have any other aim and ambitions for the life. We all leave our time for that. So this author says that reduce your working hours and enjoy as you earn. That's from the Western perspective. It's from the Western perspective that we are doing things just to enjoy because this life is short. Live as if there's no tomorrow. But from the Islamic perspective, we also have to live as if there's no tomorrow. But we have to connect it with our bigger purpose. Do whatever khidmah or service of the deen that you can now, because we don't know if the old age would come or not. So that is why if we can reduce our working hours to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should aim to do that. And alhamdulillah, I feel very blessed. I used to work on a 5-2 roster. Now I was praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me an opportunity where I have got more time. So alhamdulillah, now I work on 1 week on, 1 week off. Still not 4 hours a week, but good enough for me to alhamdulillah be able to serve the deen in whatever little capacity that I have. So maybe we should also try to do that. Our life should not be eaten up by our career. Career is one just little aspect of that. The main aim, the main purpose for which you and I are sitting here is the service of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to connect with that purpose, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the best parents who are able to nurture the next generation of people who are able to serve the deen of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the best manner. And when we go and meet him on the day of judgment, he should look at us proudly and say that these are my people. They left a legacy which served the ummah for generations. They left a son or a daughter which served the deen in a way from which thousands and millions of people benefited. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to become those parents whose children are able to service the deen of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So with this inshallah I conclude. We have got with us our very respected sister Dr. Amina Ma, and she has written this book, Watering the Roots. So inshallah she'll explain a little bit about that book, and I would encourage all the parents to kindly have a copy of the book. It can be inshallah a very useful book, a very useful companion for us as parents. So I request Sister Amina to please introduce the book.
Bismillah.